You see, that general reactions that we give when we suddenly see a snake beside us, such as this, is all for one reason, because it is venomous and the venom is deadly. And if nothing is done 20 minutes after the bite from a snake, especially venomous snakes, we are likely to die. In the last video that I made, I explained what it means for a Catholic to be in a state of grace. It became a necessity to talk about mortal and venial sin, what it means to commit any of them, and what we should do when we see ourselves in any of these sins. First of all, let us start with mortal sin. From the root word mors mortis, means death. A mortal sin is a sin that is capable of killing a soul. Now, it means a deadly sin. A soul in a state of a mortal sin is spiritually dead. Citing a biblical reference to Genesis chapter 2 verse 17b, God warned our first parents that on the day that you should eat the fruit, which is the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall die. It is a separation from his love, from his friendship, and from his paradise. So literally, this is the effect of mortal sin in our soul. It kills us spiritually. It removes the sanctifying grace that we received during our baptism. That was why St. Paul said in Romans chapter 6 verse 23 that the wages of sin is death. According to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, from article 1854 to 1864, it says that mortal sin destroys the charity or the love of God in the heart of man by a grave violation of the law of God. This mortal sin turns man away from God, who is his ultimate good and beatitude, by his preference or by him preferring inferior good to God. There are three conditions that makes a sin to be mortal. First of them is that the object of the sin must be grave. It must be a grave matter. Second is the absolute knowledge. The person that commits a sin is aware of the gravity of the sin. And the third one is that the person, after knowing this, will give his deliberate consent and will to committing the sin. The question that we have now is, what are grave matters, or what are grave sins? Now, the specifications for grave sins we are given in the divine law, which is found in the book of Exodus chapter 19 and 20, where God gave his people the 10 commandments. Other legislations about these 10 commandments were given by Christ throughout the New Testament. And we also see Paul in his theology, in his different letters, expounding, trying to let us know of what is a grave matter against God and sins that people will commit, and it will deprive them of the kingdom of heaven. Now, there are two things that happen when we commit a mortal sin. First of them is that we lose the sanctifying grace. This sanctifying grace is the grace that we receive through our baptism. This is the grace that made us the children of God. Now, it doesn't mean that we stop being children of God, but we lose the friendship of God. We lose the paradise of God, which means that if we die in the state of mortal sin, that we are likely to end up in eternal damnation. The second of them is that we lose communion with the mystical body of Christ, which is the church. And the only way in which we will be grafted back and regain this sanctifying grace, which we lose through the commission of mortal sin, is through the sacrament of reconciliation. Again, when we go to the first letter of St. John chapter 5 verse 16b to 17, St. John tells us that all iniquities are sin, but there are sins that leads to death. And when somebody commits this type of sin, I do not ask that you pray for the person, which means that there is something that is required of the person to do. And according to the teachings of the church, this is the sacramental confession that we attend to. Finally, apart from the three conditions that we have stated, which makes a sin mortal, there is one condition that can diminish or even remove the imputability of a mortal sin, and that is unintentional ignorance. So when somebody is unintentionally ignorant of anything that he is doing, the offense can be reduced, or the gravity of the offense can be reduced. We are not addressing culpable ignorance here. Culpable ignorance is what you are supposed to know. You don't know it because you chose willingly that you don't want to know it. Now, when you are found guilty of what you are supposed to know, you don't claim that I am unaware of it. But this is unintentional ignorance. So as much as we run away from snakes because their venom is capable of killing us, and we run to get a medical attention whenever we get bitten by snakes, so also should we run away from committing mortal sin. And when we see that we have committed any, we should run also to attend to the sacraments of reconciliation, so that we regain that sanctifying grace that will help for the salvation of our souls. So in my next video, I'm going to talk about venial sins, just as I have talked about mortal sin, and how this venial sin affects our soul, and what we should always do, both to avoid them and to be forgiven of the venial sins that we have committed. Until then, thank you very much for watching and listening. God bless you abundantly.